here's the part with the statues. Now the statues, yeah, this is crazy one. This is a crazy one. Now Fango is in for a sixth fight. And yeah, these statues were Fango's other enemy. Sorry, sometimes I'm pretty bad at doing dialogues, you know. It's okay. But yeah, still, they are his enemy. They're his sixth enemy. I didn't want to say that again. But hey, it's all good. Anyway, this episode opens with Austin and Lance. Yeah, Lance is like a strange, like, alien. Like, he's like an alien type creature. He's like, got like kind of like he's like an alien frog looking creature. Once I draw him, I'll show you what he looks like. But yeah, anyway, yeah. Austin is an iPhone. Yeah, well, since I didn't want to use Austin, or I think his name was Houston, actually. Yeah, I didn't want to use him for the Elemental episode, that's for sure. I'll use him for this episode instead. So yeah, it opens with Houston, and who did I use again? I just forgot. Let's see, Lance. Yeah, Houston and Lance. So yeah, they're hanging out together. Then they decide so yeah, they're going for a walk, and they come to Fango and Fangy's house to say hi, and then once they ring the doorbell, we see Fangy, but we don't see Fango. He says, yeah, because like, yeah, we see that. He tells them that Fango is out looking for a Lunerboonie. And they say, wait, you're not saying there's another Lunerboonie that just showed up, are you? He says, no. He says, action. No, he says, unfortunately, a sixth gang of Lunerboonies did just show up. But at least Fango didn't get upset. He knew it was probably going to happen. So yeah, and then we cut to Fango in his mecha suit looking for some sign of the Lunerboonies that showed up. He doesn't find anything. He doesn't find anything just yet. But he does find like 5 different types of trails in the next 3 minutes. He says, well, that's strange. He says, what's this? He says, oh, I guess I found them. No monsters, just footprints. Fantastic tracking job. And then he says, I'm Fango. You know how like Fangy says I'm Fangy, but Fango says I'm Fango rather than I'm Fangy? It's really funny. Well, he has like more, let's say he doesn't, yeah. Fango has a Brooklyn accent. He's like a Brooklyn accent, but let's say Fango has more of a, yeah, let's say Fango has an Australian accent. While Fangy's a Brooklyn accent, yeah, Fangy's like, hey, I'm walking here. Now, Fango would be an Australian accent. I thought that maybe be cool if Fango was an Australian accent. My uncle usually does the voices, but so he probably isn't very good at an Australian accent. But I kind of learned. I had to, learn how to do an Australian accent, and I did. It's like something I never done before. And then this is what Fango says. This is like something I never seen before. Better get out of here before something bad happens. I didn't quite pay attention to the A part. I should have done that. But yeah, so like after that, here I could just do my English talk, but like we could get an Australian accent to voice Fango, or someone who knows how to speak Australian, or like not speak Australian but have an Australian accent. They'd be able to do Fango's voice. I know it's kind of silly, but I think it's just the only way how to make Fango speak easier. Or Fango doesn't really need to be an Australian accent. If there's any accents my uncle can do other than Australian, then that would be pretty cool. Also, yeah, let's say that Fango just returns home, tells Fangy that all he found was footprints. He gets the news out to investigate the trail. Fango is just doing nothing but minding his own business until we see the statues. Oh, this is when that's when we cut to Green Ridge, downtown Green Ridge. The ground is shaking. People like strong lungs are starting to panic because they see something coming, and that's when we don't see the statues just yet, and that's when we see a giant golden foot crush an old car, a fancy black car. Yeah, let's just say the car was black. We see a giant foot crush a fancy black car, and then we cut to the bottom of the statues, and then we pan up to them. That's what we see what the statues look like. And then they roar, or they growl, and everyone is running for their lives. And the first thing we see the statues do, we see the golden one knock a rooftop antenna off of a building. We see that a truck driver notices it. He jumps out of the truck before it lands on his truck. It's actually kind of funny when you think of that. And somebody just survives, saves themselves by noticing something is about to fall on them. Let's say he stops the truck and then he immediately gets out to not be crushed, and then that's when the antenna crushes the truck. And then we see them knock over the first building, and then the building they knocks over other buildings, kind of like dominoes. This is meant to be parts of my reoccurring joke, the giant domino reoccurring joke. Sorry to stop talking. And then Fango says, sorry, sometimes I stop talking because I think about my brain. I might need to pause. But that's when we cut to Penford, and on the news there's these people talking about the chaos from the elementals in the last episode. Not in the last one, but the one before this one. You know what I mean by last. That's when you see that there's... First one you see is Jake, one of the robots. He says, and let's see, let's say that the people who are on the news, let's say there's, let's say Arthur was, talking. Let's say we don't quite see him, but we see everyone else. We see the ones who were, at the school. So yeah, we have Jake the robot, we have Brendan the star, and then we have, let's say maybe let's say that maybe let's see, who else do we have? Maybe Diesel the convertible. He's the purple convertible car, light purple. And let's say Skylar the tree was in this, or maybe let's say it was, let's say it was maybe Jim the mushroom. Yeah. And they're talking about, first we see like Jake the Robot. He says, well, hey, I gotta tell you something. So, like, what's the news about again? He says, it's about those elemental girls. Remember those giant, like, those 4 elementalish girls were terrorizing Penford? He says, oh yeah, that was sick. The only thing I remember is when I was going crazy when all the people were running and screaming, and when Fango showed up to fight them. And then we cut to Diesel. He says, all I want to thank is Fango for saving the day. If another monster like them shows up again, I'm gonna get real upset. And then the person says, oh, Diesel, you don't have to be upset about it. You know, it's just what happened. I mean, if anything like that happens again, Fango will come back and fight and deal with it. Diesel says, I know, but still. And then we cut to Brendan, who was just, like, having a crush on them. He says, well, hey, it's me, Brendan the Star. He says, hey, Brendan, you got anything to say about the alien elementalish girls that attacked Penford? Well, he says, yeah, I do. You want to hear something very, very awesome? What? You know the water elemental? He says, yeah, what about her? She is pretty. Is she? She really? Wait. He says, I was having a crush on her. I couldn't take my eyes off her. I would just keep looking at her. Too bad Fango defeated her with Keystone Tower. Keystone Tower is actually my favorite tower. Yeah, he tells us that Keystone Tower is his favorite tower, but he says, but thank goodness they rebuilt it. And what's even more good about it now is that it counts as a gravestone for the water elemental. And she's so cute. And the news person says, wow, if you found her that beautiful, I can tell how much you love her. He says, yeah, I love her so stinking much. He says, well, okay. That's nice to hear. He says, he says, when I was looking at her, I just wanted to get a good look at her. I felt like I wanted to hug her. He says, well, that's nice, but you knew she was dangerous, right? He says, yeah, I know. That's why I didn't get too close to her. He says, that's why I kept my distance. And then the person on the news says, well, that's a good choice, Brandon. It's better to at least stay back during a battle so nobody gets hurt. And then that's when we see Skylar. We cut to Skylar. He says, I don't know, man. That was pretty scary. Those elemental girls. Anyway, Fango, the good thing about the battle is that Fango's my hero. Oh my gosh, Fango, I love my best friend Fango. He says, that's great. What even were those elementals' names? He says, I don't think they had a name. Maybe we should make one up. I'll name the fire one fire. I name the water water. I'll name the earth earth, and I'll name the air air. He says, well, okay then. That sounds like a good choice. He says, got anything else to say? Skylar says, yeah. He says, okay, what's that? And then he says, hey, Fango! And then when we cut to Fango watching TV, and turns out Skylar was on the TV, and then Fango says, hey, Skylar, And then suddenly the news was interrupted by a broadcast, and it's about the statues that are attacking the city of Greenridge. He says, "What? Oh, another broadcast." And then the ground shakes. He says, "Whoa!" And he gets out. He sees what it says. He says, "Giant statue-like creatures are attacking strong ones." He says, "What the?" He realizes that there's giant statue girls attacking strong. He says, "My gosh, what is this?" He says, "All right, time to get in my mecha suit. First, at least I ain't too upset. Maybe just a little. But I can do this." So he gets in his mecha suit and deals with them. Yeah. And here comes the battle. Anyway, when Fango encounters the statues, it's time for a fight. "I'll knock you statues over." No, that's not what he says. He says, I don't know. He just says, let's just say he doesn't say anything. He just starts fighting with the statues. Yeah, that's all he does. But before they start fighting, we see all the military vehicles attacking them. But they're fighting back, and Fango shows up. And then he tries to stop them, but it's not quite turning out his way. Because when he charges at them, the yellow one grabs the arm of his mecha suit and throws him into a building. Yep. Isn't easy, y'all. It isn't easy. Then Fango gets back up. Then he realizes that they're gonna strike for him. And when they try to, Fango grabs them and kicks the one that tried to grab him. Let's say it was the one with the red hair. And he pushes it into the one with the green eyes. The dark one with the green eyes and the wings. They go in for another strike. Fango isn't done yet. He's still fighting them. Then they grab a garbage truck and then they throw it at Fango. Fango knocks it to the side into a building. Then the truck explodes. And now the side of the building is on fire. Then they grab a rooftop water tower and throw it at Fango. He also knocks it to the side, but in the opposite direction. Knocks it into the building, across from the building that he knocked the garbage truck into. Fango still isn't done yet. Then they all charge at Fango, but Fango is trying his best. Then they push him, and then the one with the red hair tries to knock a billboard that was on top of the building onto Fango. But Fango grabs it and then throws it to the side. Or he just throws it away. He just throws it like whoop right behind him. And then we don't even see where the billboard lands. It just stays next to Fango. We just hear the crash. And then Fango and the Lunerboonies continues to fight. And it's not going well. Trust me. It's going crazy. Fango was getting really upset. Then they started fighting more. Fango suddenly decided to use his weapons on them. He aimed for the yellow one's eyes, or the golden one's eyes. When it hit her eyes, it actually damaged her. But then she was blind. Well, but it didn't blind her, but it damaged her. She shot all of them. He used the machine guns on his fists. The rockets came out of the chest of the robot and shot them. And then the fists to his robot opened up, and there was machine guns in them. And they shot the statues. They couldn't withstand the attack of the robot. Then it suddenly, a whole bunch of rockets. He shot them with both his fist, machine guns, and his chest rockets. Then he had to use the laser eyes. He shot all of them with his laser eyes. He shot them right through the chest. And then, but they didn't quite die yet. But they fell on each other like dominoes. But they suddenly landed on the Capitol building. Whoops. And without warning, the dome fell right on them and crushed them all, which suddenly destroyed them all. Fango said, "Whoops, my bad." And he looked at everybody. He said, "Look, before anybody yells, I am sorry I destroyed the Capitol building, but I wasn't aiming for the Capitol building. I was aiming for these aggressive statue women. I didn't even see the Capitol building." Everybody just laughed at him. And then the governor said, "Oh, Fango, we all know you didn't mean to destroy the Capitol building. We knew you were aiming for the statues that were attacking us." And then Fango returned home. Back at his house with Fangy, you see he already got his reward. He said, "Even though I accidentally destroyed the Capitol building, I still at least got a reward for saving the day." And then it ends with them laughing.